Right, so we're going to have a look at this lab and see if we can set up our basic network setup. Okay, so what we've got is a firewall and then 3 networks that we connect to. So everyone in the lab connects into this public network, and then we'll be setting up our own network here. So the firewall we'll be using initially is the vSoC firewall, but then we'll use pfSense in a later lab. So I have a private network, a DMZ, and a public network. This network here should be DHCP, and then these two will set up as static IP addresses. So the main gateway is here, and we should be able to get an address inside this range for this port here. Then over here we'll set up 2 networks. So we'll just take one of our allocations. So for our Ubuntu network, our private network 10.10.1.7, and then for our Windows network 10.10.2.7. Okay, so our address here is 10.10.1.7/24. And so our gateway has got to be on the same network, 10.10.1.254. We'll take the last address on that network. And then over here, 10.10.2.7. And this will be 10.10.2.254. And we're using a /24 for each one. Okay, so we're using vSoC, and these are the basic commands that we use for setting up our ports that we've got and setting up the default gateway. The default gateway for this machine will be here, default gateway for this machine will be here, and the default gateway for this firewall will be here. Okay, and we should get our routing to work. Okay, so let's have a look at our setup here. So we can power on, if we just power on, they're already powered on just now. So my 3 machines are powered on. So let's have a look at these. So let's pull up vSoC, Ubuntu, and now vSoC. And then for Windows. Okay, so there's vSoC, there's Ubuntu. So I just get logged in, and then we'll come back to this one again and set it up. And then for Windows, we'll just get logged in here. Okay, so our Ubuntu network is going to connect into the 10.10.1 network, and then Windows into the 10.10.2 network. Okay, so let's go ahead, and if we do an ifconfig, then we see we've got Ethernet 11. So we'll just go ahead and we'll get that set up. We've got a command in here. So 10.10.1.7 is the network that we're on here. And we'll set up the default gateway. Sudo root add default gateway 10.10.1.254. Okay, so we won't be able to ping anything apart from our local interface because we haven't set up vSoC yet. So we'll just go ahead and set up vATA. Okay, so on vATA we use the configure command to go into configuration mode. And then we now need to set the interfaces. So you can press tab to see the commands, or you do the question mark. So this is Ethernet, and we're setting up ETH0 to have an address which is DHCP. We're going to set up interface Ethernet ETH1 to have an address of 10.10.1.254/24. And ETH2 to have an address 10.10.2.254/24. So the network addresses you're assigned will be set up here. Now we're going to set up the default gateway. To be 10.221.3.254. Okay, then we say commit. And then we exit. Then we can show the interfaces, and there's the addresses. So we've been allocated 10.221.0.6/22, and we can see the other the addresses are set as that. So just to make sure that we're up and running, ping 10.10.1.7 is our own address. That's fine. 10.10.1.254, and that's great. So we've got that, and now we'll set up Windows. So on this one we are 10.10 10.10.2.7, and that's the subnet mask, and that's the default gateway for us. And let's just go for that just now. Okay, so up to now we've not actually set up NAT, so we won't be able to get out of our own network just now. But we should be able to ping the gateways. Okay, so we have 10.10.2.7. That works. 10.10.2.254. That works too. Okay, so both Windows machine and the Ubuntu machine can actually ping the interfaces. Then hopefully from here we should be able to ping out. Okay, that's good. Ping 10.10.2.7. Okay, so the firewall can actually ping each of the networks. So just let us check the default gateway. And that's working there. Okay, so if we look back at our diagram, we can see what we've set up there. Okay, there's the gateway, that's where we were there. We can ping there, can ping there, ping there, we can ping, and so on. Okay, so that's the first part of that complete. Okay, so now we should be set up so that the firewall will know each of the routes that it's connected to. So we should be able to ping from here to here and vice versa, and we should be able to access any web services from there to there and so on. So the firewall doesn't actually have any firewall rules applied to it at the present time. Okay, so we'll just try and see if we can connect to the other network. So we'll connect into there. So that's alive. So what we do is to run nmap against the other machine, so that we should be able to see the ports that are actually open on the server that we connect to. It just takes a little minute to run. Okay, so you can see that the Ubuntu server is running FTP, Telnet, HTTP, LDAP, and VNC. So if I then open up a browser, we should be able to connect to the web server on the other machine. And while it's doing that, we'll do the same from here. Ping 10.10.2.7, and that's great. And we'll do an nmap 10.10.2.7 to see what the Windows machine is running. .10.10.1.7. Okay, so there's we're connecting to the web server on the Ubuntu machine. And then from Ubuntu, we can see all the services that Windows is running, SSH, Telnet, and so on. So we'll just see if we can access the web server on the other side. Make sure you put it onto online mode. That's us connecting. Okay, so we can test just to see what our web server is on our own side by doing a local host, just to check that that's the right web server, and it is. Okay. So that is showing us our connectivity. Okay, so we can set up on our Viata our services. So we'll set service as Telnet. Then we'll commit. Go here, and what we'll do is to run telnet 10.10.1.254. Okay. That's us in there. Okay, now we'll just log out. From there, we can also do the same with SSH. So we'll configure set service SSH. Remember, and commit doesn't work until you commit. Exit, come back here, and then we'll do our SSH .1.254. 254. So I need to set the password for that, and just see if I can quit them. So it's SSH and then minus L vSoC. And that's as in. Okay, obviously the SSH is much more secure, as you'll find when you run Wireshark from that. Okay, so that's shown us how we can set up the basic setup for our infrastructure. Now what we're going to do is we're going to run that, which will allow us to be able to connect to the internet, hopefully. So we'll go back to vSoC and we'll set our configure. So we're going to set our first rule. Outbound interface is going to be ETH0. Set NAT. So the source address that comes from will be 10.10.1.0/24. And translation. Address masquerade. Now we're going to map the DMZ, second row. We'll just reuse the ones that we had before. So our outbound is for Ethernet 0. Our source addresses are from this network. We're going to use masquerading, which will overload the addresses there. That should be 2. So if you get a command wrong, then we can delete. Okay, so we just check our configuration. Looks okay. Good. Okay, so now we've got that set up. So on our Windows machine here, we are going to edit our resolve.conf file to set up our name server, and it's 10 dot the gateway node 10 10.221.3.254, and let's go for 8.8.8 there. Great, we can ping Google. So the default gateway is 10.221.3.254. 10.221.253. 253. We're not reaching that, but we can reach Google, so that should be enough. So if we now try Google, there it's there. Okay, so that's working perfectly. So now we'll go over here. Okay, so we'll try here first. Oops. And you can see we have connectivity here. And so the reason for that is that because I've set up the DNS here for 8.8.8, should work okay. Our default gateway is the right one there. And we can set up our gateway node as 10.221.3.254. 10.221.3.254. Come over here. Just let's check what we set up here. 10.221.3.254. It's fine. 10.221.3.254 is responding now. Okay, so that means that we now have connectivity to the rest of the network. Okay, so this is the 10.3.221.3.254, and we can now ping that. We can also ping it from there, and we're getting connectivity to 8.8.8.8, which means that we have connectivity to Google, and then our DNS is working because we can now access google.com from a web browser.